Welcome back, folks, to the Food and Drink Business Podcast live stream of interviews being conducted here on the exhibition floor at Food Pro 2023. And this, like our other interviews, is being sponsored by TriMat Systems. Kim Berry, I believe this is your first go today on day 3 of the show.
That is true.
It's almost mid. It is
just
gone midday, and you haven't even taken the seat yet.
What can I say?
Busy.
I just had a sleep in. I went to the day spa.
Right. Tell us something we'd believe.
Exactly. Hey.
Yeah, that's what horses eat. But anyway.
Yeah, I know. But I know that you know our guest as well.
Yeah.
Because he's a friend of Food and Drink Business.
Oh, I know.
And he's a friend of the podcast.
He's been on before.
This is Tony Cartwright. Tony is the new CEO of Eighth Day Foods, as well as being, I don't know, he's like a bank of knowledge around
Very kind
food and beverage globally. It's
kind.
like a walking experience encyclopedia.
How are you both?
Hello.
Thank you for the very kind
And very generous with your knowledge. And
thank you.
I have asked Tony many a very dumb question.
I don't think there's any such thing as that.
There never is.
Yes.
Okay, talk to me about Eighth Day Foods. What are they doing?
Yeah. So thank you. So Eighth Day Foods, we are a food tech business that's based here in Melbourne, and so we're roughly about 2.5 years old. Originally started by our co-founders Roger and Jen Drew, and we have basically developed a patented process. Patented fermentation process, I should add, in terms of where we take in a lupin and we're putting it through fermentation, and we're effectively creating a plant-based, ready-to-cook protein.
Aha. And so this is a B2B product. This is for other, manufacturers to come to you and say, we want a high-quality, clean plant protein.
Correct, yes. So in terms of, that's a question we get asked on a regular basis. Are you guys a brand or are you B2B?
Yeah.
I think in terms of certainly for the next 5 to 10 years, we're going to be B2B focused. And I think what's really been a really great part of the journey is we've really honed down what our product offering is.
Right.
And where we see ourselves playing. So we're effectively going to go into the market within the large food manufacturing businesses. But also, given the versatility of the product, we see ourselves into ready meals, and there's an abundance of other different food attributes that allow us to be able to play quite wide and deep at the moment, but we're really focused on specific channels.
Is the protein, is it dry or is it a wet ingredient?
Yeah, so when the product actually comes out, so it's... We're almost like the farmer and the abattoir in the plant-based space. So we're effectively creating if you think of it as a raw piece of meat as it actually comes out of the fermentation.
Yep.
But it's essentially got about 60% moisture that sits in there. And then we've got the ability to be able to create an abundance of different products out of that, depending on what industry we work to. But
of course, because someone might want something with 50% sort of moisture content or... Is that how it works, or like less or more?
I think in terms of where we've got it to at the moment is pretty perfect. I think a little bit more about the product is what we see in this space, particularly in the alternative protein space, is that a lot of the products out there have circa 20 to 30 ingredients that still ship from all over the world.
Yes.
We're an Australian-based business and owned. We source everything from here in Australia, and we effectively manufacture here in Australia as well. So our product in itself is less than 5 ingredients, and one of them is water. Yeah. So, and we sourcing them within a 60k radius. So we're really...
You're ticking a lot of boxes for a lot of companies and people, really.
Absolutely, Kim. And I think some of the, certainly some of the challenges that we're helping retailers or brands or food businesses to solve is, the first one has definitely been around the buzzword around scope 3 at the moment. So,
I was just going to say to you, you guys will just be so far out in front when it comes to the rapidly increasing realization that you have to be looking at your scope 3 emissions, and that the gravitas of that and how deeply you have to go into your supply chain, and you're just going to be able to stand there and go, here we are.
Yeah, so it's something that we're really proud of, and over the past kind of 3 or 4 weeks. We've had lots of exposure on TV. So which has been great, but it's also meant that my phone's been very busy with companies ringing me, and one of the things they generally ask for is around the scope 3, but a lot around the clean ingredients, the clean label side of the business, and primarily the second or third question is, how much is it going to cost me?
Yes.
So you know how it goes, Kim. So one of the things that we kind of see as being not a barrier, but I kind of guess what the industry is facing at the moment is one of the key questions is obviously around cost, and then it always comes back to availability and how do you supply those in. So given the fact that we have less than 5 ingredients, and one of them is water as well, by the way. We source everything in Australia. We can be extremely competitive on pricing. And that comes down to the fact of a lot of the other plant-based proteins out there are either parity to meat, or they're actually more expensive. So we can tick one box in terms of how we can be competitive and actually cheaper than meat. And then the other big kind of challenge that I think the industry has had historically has been around when consumers are physically tasting the products. They don't have a great experience, and that repeat purchase is a challenge. So I think I would say I'm biased, but we have a great tasting product, and one of the elements that we've got to it is that we've created a product called Lupreme. So lupins that's supreme. You can tie that together. You can tie that together. So we won.
How long was that brainstorming session?
Oh, literally seconds. But we won the best plant-based product at the World Plant-Based Awards back in 2021. We finished second.
So you must have just been at the beginning at that point.
Yes, so we're about 2.5 years old. The business primarily has been focused on building our innovation centre that we have here in Melbourne. Defining what our product portfolio looks like, getting the product tested. So that 2.5 years has been spent really well in terms of ensuring that when we hit the market, which is now, that we're in a really good place to succeed.
Grant, this is really probably one of the best examples of where the industry is at the moment, in that there's this huge consumer demand expectation on food and beverage companies delivering products that are clean label, that are using ingredients that are Australian grown, made, produced, and then that the product is made in Australia. They love it when the company is also Australian based and owned and built, and then you have these competing, and then they also want then the normal consumer things of taste and texture. That but they all, and price, but then you also have these at a company level and at a manufacturer's level, that comes through in things like the fact that there is this growing realization that scope 1 and scope 2 emissions, it just doesn't cut it now if that's all you're doing. And you have to start making inroads into scope 3 if you're going to hit any of your targets that you want to hit by 2030 or 2050. And so when you have a lot of startups, and a lot of startups playing in the plant-based space have a benefit of knowing that, and so you can sort of hit the ground running in terms of meeting needs from both sides of the fence.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think one of the other points on there is in terms of our product itself, so we're about 80% lupin is the product. So a little bit about lupin. So it's been around for thousands of years. The Europeans have been consuming this for thousands of years, but here in Australia, we effectively put it down the neck of animals. And so, we've got something that's highly available. The cost for now is pretty good because it's a commodity. But what we're effectively looking to do at the moment as well is in terms of our next facility. So instead of going to a centralized model where we spend a ridiculous amount of money on a factory in the middle of nowhere, we're effectively building modularized, so we're scaling out. So we're effectively putting our future food production facilities at the physical farm gate. So we're looking to be able to do that. So once again, we're actually taking trucks off the road and ships off the water, and so the scope 3 actually comes.
And
a little
growing
bit more.
lupins is it's a great crop, isn't it, in terms of what it does for the topsoil and its regenerative capabilities are also a really big plus.
Yeah, correct. So we're starting to align ourselves with organic farmers. So we're looking to put a program around a cover crop or a rotational crop.
Yeah.
So anywhere where you can grow wheat, you can effectively grow the sweet lupin, which is the Albus lupin, which we use.
Yeah.
So we're inviting farmers to really participate in a program where instead of them not getting anything for their cover crop or where effectively can get an incremental revenue stream, and then create a growing program where they can effectively create a cooperative of local farmers to then join this. So we're given the fact that our product is 80% lupin, we see ourselves as having an endless supply here in Australia, and the product that we've produced, which is Lapreme, not only is it award winning, but we were actually quite fortunate enough to have a famous chef. So Scott Finlay,
I see.
who was the personal chef to Beyonce, Rihanna, and Sir Paul McCartney.
Can you imagine being the personal chef to those people?
Ooh la la.
I mean, it would just be like, I'll have a teaspoon of quinoa and
Alan,
how
I need to
can I make
inhale.
it taste better?
And he's also cooked with the product.
Well, there you go.
And
He loves it.
He said it's probably the most versatile, the best tasting plant-based protein that he's ever worked with. And the best thing is, I didn't have to pay him to say that.
That's bonus points.
Nice.
Bonus, right?
Look, it's really, you know how I get about young companies doing really interesting work, and that is pushing the boundaries and really driving the industry forward. And so it's just so lovely to see you and to talk to you. Thank you for coming along.
Thank you for inviting me. It's been a pleasure.
Yeah. So friend of the podcast.
Yep, always good to have Tony on.
Thank you.
We'll have to do a long form one sometime in the near future before the year's out.
Yeah, who knows? Maybe Food and Drink could come open and do the grand opening of our innovation centre.
Yes, please.
Live stream from the innovation centre, perhaps.
Uh-huh.
What? Me trying to get in on the fun?
All right.
I'll see if I can get Beyonce and Rihanna to turn up.
And if they can't, we've always got Kim.
Even
I
better.
can sing and dance. I'm a triple threat.
I was just going for notoriety. And on that note, thank you, Tony. Thank you, Kim.
you.
And of course, thanks to everyone who's tuned into this Food and Drink business interview that was conducted live on the exhibition floor at Food Pro 2023. We'll be back shortly with another informative discussion sponsored by TriMat Systems. Yay! And TriMat have asked me to say, looking to reduce labor processes, resulting in a boost in your profits? TriMat Systems offer automation solutions that will take your productivity to the next level. Contact them today at trimat.com.